international committees that meet every year to assess the state of museums in their countries and reflect on actions to improve it. We also foster 7 regional alliances, which enable dialogue between neighboring countries that face common challenges, and 30 international committees dedicated to various museum specialties. The latter are the ICOM think tanks, made up of passionate individuals working on a voluntary basis to further research and advance knowledge in their area of expertise. ICOM has also 21 affiliated organizations who participate in ICOM's activities and contribute to its network, and MAC, the Museum Association of the Caribbean, is one of them. At ICOM, we carry out many activities that can be regrouped in 5 fields of action: the definition of standards and promotion of best practices, the protection of heritage at risk, issuing publications, raising awareness, and building capacity for museum professionals. The values and principles shared by ICOM and the international museum community are encapsulated in the ICOM Code of Ethics, the cornerstone of our work. It is officially recognized as the main international ethical standard for museums, as it sets minimum standards for professional practice and performance for museums. Its premises and its definition of museum are included in the national legislations of several countries, and it has been translated into 39 languages. It has also been recently enshrined in the 2015 UNESCO recommendation of the protection and promotion of museums and collections, their diversity, and their role in society. ICOM is deeply committed to the protection of cultural heritage, whether that is from natural or man-made disasters or from violent conflicts. The ICOM Disaster Resilient Museums International Committee gathers museum-related professionals to help countries following major emergency situations. It works to limit and contain damage through preventive conservation measures and acts upon the request of museum professionals or institutions when the situation surpasses national capabilities for response. ICOM's International Committee for Museum Security, ICMS, also provides professional expertise in security matters concerning museums. For the past 20 years, we have led the efforts in the fight against illicit traffic in cultural goods, particularly through the publication of the ICOM Red Lists. These lists classify the categories of endangered cultural objects in areas of the world to prevent them from being sold or illegally exported. The latest red lists published have been the Emergency Red List of Cultural Objects at Risk for Ukraine, launched last November, and the Red List of Brazilian Cultural Objects at Risk that was launched only a few weeks ago. One of the main pillars of our actions in favor of ICOM's mission is our publications. Since 2016, we published the peer-reviewed journal Museum International, which promotes the exchange of information about museums and cultural heritage on an international level. Its most recent issue focuses on the diversity of issues, themes, and actors shaping the international museum landscape today. It follows the journal's primary vocation of fostering knowledge sharing and debate with the international museum community. As the main representative of the museum community, we defend museums as vital resources and incomparable places of learning for society. We advocate for policies that will make the cultural heritage field thrive by representing the museum community in international forums such as UNESCO and the OECD, as well as issuing position statements regarding global issues such as the independence of museums or the need of adequate public funding. We also coordinate the celebration of International Museum Day on May 18th, which we established in 1977 with the aim of conveying a powerful message that museums are important means of cultural exchange, enrichment of cultures, and development of mutual understanding, cooperation, and peace among peoples. On this day, museums from all around the world organize special activities related to the theme chosen by ICOM, which for this year in 2023 will be Museum Sustainability and Well-being. The world's heritage cannot be fully protected without the involvement of excellent museum professionals, which is why ICOM considers the transmission of knowledge and know-how a priority. To better serve the members of developing museum communities around the world, we work to increasingly organize workshops that will facilitate world-class training and cross-cultural dialogue between museum professionals. ICOM is now organizing online programs such as webinars and online training that are available to everyone. We published our first massive open online course on November 2021 on the Future Learn platform with the title Creating Meaningful and Inclusive Museum Practices. It is free and accessible to everyone, so I invite you all to go and check it out. In order to enhance the collaboration between members of its network, ICOM organizes exchange programs in which two countries respectively host a museum professional of the partner country in order to work together and share ideas and different perspectives in the development of an exhibition. We are currently working on two exchange programs, one between Zambia and Germany and another one between Senegal and Switzerland. The ICOM International Museum Research and Exchange Center, ICOM-MAC, is an international research and exchange platform concerning the museum field and its related areas. It is a partnership between ICOM and the Shanghai University, created to encourage museums all over the world to engage in a more diverse, inclusive, and democratic cultural dialogue and collaboration among ICOM and the global museum community. The ICOM International Training Center for Museum Studies, ITC, is organized in collaboration with ICOM China and the Palace Museum of Beijing. Through this workshop, we provide ICOM members from developing countries with the opportunity to participate in ICOM-led training programs in areas relevant to museum management. Each year, ICOM also organizes different regional trainings to give museum professionals from all over the world the chance to participate in high-level workshops led by international experts. These workshops also aim at creating regional networks for museum professionals that they can use to exchange information or to initiate and develop collaborative projects. ICOM's goal is to reach all regions with its trainings workshops every 2 years, so that all museum professionals can have the possibility to attend. Depending on the geographical region, these trainings are developed in our 3 official languages, English, French, and Spanish, or with simultaneous interpretation in local languages. In the photos of the presentation, you can see 2 of our training programs of 2019. The one on the top left was in Colombia, addressing the role of museums in processes of memory and resilience. And the one in the bottom right is South Africa, on rethinking museum professionals' role as museum workers and as participants and partners in social and community change. Another one of our regional workshop was the ICOM-MAC Disaster Risk Management Workshop. 15 museum professionals from the Caribbean had the opportunity to participate to this workshop conducted by ICOM in coordination with the Museum Association of the Caribbean and the Collectivité Territoriale de la Martinique, with the support of the National Museum of African American History and Culture and the French Ministry of Culture. The objective of the course was to increase participants' skills in the analysis and management of risks and hazards in museums to ensure better safeguarding and protection of museum assets. The project was originally supposed to be a 5-day workshop in Martinique in 2020, in May, but we all know what happened with COVID, so we had to postpone many times, and we had to change and adapt our plans. All the partner involved never stopped working on the project, and finally in September 2021, we could start with a new format. We set up for the first time a hybrid workshop divided in 2 parts. A first part online composed of 3 sessions in September, October, and November 2021, which brought together the participants on a platform, Zoom, in order to follow the course. And a second part in person to share together the work done and concentrate on more practical side of the training. The in-person part of the workshop took place in Fort-de-France, Martinique, at the Musée du Perpignan from the 27th to the 29th of April, 2022. Participants were divided into 4 groups that had to work together on exercises that were given to them between each online session. We had 2 trainers and 2 mentors for this project. François Collange from Blue Shield France, Valérie from the National Archives of Curaçao, Amira and Claudia, Amira from the Egyptian Heritage Rescue Foundation and Claudia from Archimedia Trust Onlus. You can see all of them together with Susan and Laurent, who were our partners from MAC, and CTM, who helped us so much in the organization of this project. Unfortunately, Amira is in the picture down on the left, could not be present in Martinique because she never received her visa, but she was there with us in her spirit. Each one of the trainers and mentors was supervising one of the 4 groups in which the participants were divided. The methodological approach chosen for the conduct of the mentoring activities is based on the valorization of the participants' knowledge of the context and professional experience and on cooperative learning. This approach allows the training content to be anchored in the specific context of each institution, highlighting both the recurrence of common threats and the specificity of certain risks, a specificity that stems from a number of intersecting factors, including the location of the museum, the state of conservation, and the characteristics of the building, the nature of the collections, the human and financial resources available, etc. The workshop was divided into 6 modules. The main objectives were to acquire the basic technical and organizational knowledge to organize risk management in one's institution, to know the environment of risk management in one's territory, and at the same time in an international context, to encourage contacts and networking with island territories and between Caribbean islands. The second day of the in situ session has been organized at the Habitation Rousseau, where the practical exercise took place. With the help of all of the partners and trainers, we prepared a scenario for the evacuation rescue exercise. We recreated the scenario of a museum hit by a cyclone and 3 days of continuous rain, during which the site was inaccessible due to a block on the road. Laurent from CTM was impersonating the owner of the museum and presented the scenario to the participants the day before the exercise. And then the trainers gave some basic instructions and then let the participants work independently, always checking on their work to give them feedback later. Katarina from MAC, the actual vice president of MAC, was impersonating the scientific manager of the collection who got hurt during the cyclone and was in need of assistance, as you can see from the top picture in the center. Carlos and I from ICOM were there to distract them, impersonating respectively a journalist and a thief. While Carlos was interviewing the participants who were trying to do their job, I would walk among them.
Like it wasn't enough.
And try to steal the objects at the first opportunity. You can see Carlos doing his job in the second picture down. This is an extremely interesting and instructive exercise, and fun, as the participants found themselves in a real disaster scenario with many possible distractions that can be present in real life, and had to face them all while organizing the different stages of their work together. Firefighters and Red Cross representatives joined us during the exercise to provide further guidance. The participants achieved a general increase in knowledge and skills regarding methods, resources, tools, and techniques for risk analysis and management in Caribbean museums, a better understanding of the characteristics and vulnerabilities of one's own institution at different levels, from that of the buildings to that of the collection they house, a better knowledge of the museums and institutions of their colleagues, especially in terms of identification, prevention, and management of risks. Finally, our workshop received a satisfaction rate of 93%. That we can therefore be very satisfied with this outcome, in particular of the great collaboration with MAC and CTM that made this project possible. But this is only the beginning. What we always want to convey to the participants of our workshops is the importance of sharing everything they learn with their colleagues once they are back working in their museums. This is of the utmost importance because in the event of a disaster, natural or man-made, the more people are prepared, the better we can all help each other. Thank you.
All right, so the floor is now open for questions, because this is a very important intervention in the region since we had several Category 5s in the last few years. And so do we have any questions, comments, thoughts on additional interventions?
Yes, I have a question for Ulrika, and it's based on all these experiences, but also based on the partnership and collaboration between committees and institutions. What do you see from the planning for these events? what would be probably a key factor for committees to think about when planning something like this in terms of partnering with other committees or would be the local board, the local interaction with different, what have you learned, from
Well,
planning all this?
One of the most important things for us is always to have a partner on the ground, because we need people who knows what they need and what they've been through, and who tell us exactly what the museum professionals of the region or of that particular museum needs. In this way, we can find the better experts through our ICOM network to help them organize the project and define the program.
Okay. And the second comment is I find very interesting and very valuable the fact that all this training include several partners, one from the region and another one from outside the region, but with expertise to bring another vision about the same problem.
Exactly.
So maybe you can elaborate a little bit more.
Yes, this is it. Every workshop is different. Everyone needs different things. But what we generally try to do is to have an expert from the same region and another one from outside, so that we can have different perspectives. It's something that, for example, we did in a project that we organized in November in Nigeria. We had two trainers, one from Nigeria and one from Brazil. In this case, the trainer from Brazil was a great asset because Brazil and Nigeria have so much in common. So she was not from Nigeria, but she had so much to bring in. And the participants couldn't even believe it themselves because they couldn't even imagine. It was really great. Yes.
If I can add something. I think one of the major pluses that came out of this is the network that was formed. This group is still in touch with one another. They still communicate, they share things, they share things that are happening in their own countries. They share, for example, when someone is having a problem, even personal. So a group was formed, a family. There was that. It's very, very strong. And we have two persons who are
Yes.
there who were in that, and I think what I'm saying, they will not disagree with me.
And actually, just to reinforce on that you are absolutely right, and thinking about the impact of all these activities, is that somehow not only ICOM but also the organization that participate probably could do like a follow-up survey or follow-up discussion about the impact maybe 1 year later, 2 years later, and then bringing back that information to ICOM that will help not only ICOM but also yourself to even build your case even more for support for those kind of initiatives toward the future.
Yeah, we actually do that. After 3-4 years from the workshop, we contact everybody again to ask if they're still in touch with each other, if they organize project together, if there's how this training impacted their professional lives. We haven't done it yet for the Martinique, but it will come soon.
And Ludovica, maybe the institution as well, because we talk about, I know one of the key points of the workshop that we were hoping to really get across was taking that knowledge back. And it was very difficult, wasn't it, originally to select a finite group of people, because we had a really amazing response of people wanting to attend. But how much is impacting the wider training within the institution? Are people really sharing that knowledge when they return?
I know from the Martinique project that some of the participants have already done that, because they were asking me questions about it and they were already getting in touch with their museum directors to do everything as soon as they were coming back. But of course, this is going to be one of the main questions of the of the survey.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Ludovica, for that lovely presentation. I have a comment and maybe a question not directed to you, but to to the former participants that I want to assume the challenges we have on the African continent may be connected to what is in the region. One of the things that is a problem on our continent is finding opportunities to do capacity building training, such as this one, which was done in the region. Maybe here it is different, I don't know. But if it is a challenge, one of the things we do to encourage participants who have attended this kind of trainings is connected to what the lady here said, our colleague, is we encourage the participants when they go back to their countries to do presentations to their fellow friends so that they can also pass on this knowledge to them. Not just come back, do a small report which ends up at the director's desk and it's the end or in the annual report. But when they have done such a thing, pass on the knowledge to others. So they become, when they go for the training, it becomes like a trainer of trainers, so that they also do it to their friends that won't have the opportunity. Especially that such kind of a training will happen this time here, the next time you hear it will be in Argentina, or it will be in Africa, or the next time India. By the time it comes around here, it will be 5-10 years and other people will have left. And I wanted to say, especially to those that have participated, please, I hope you did, and if not, please think about it. And I think Ludovica is still here, and if you need presentations and more information, she could be there. One thing COVID did for us, although it separated us, we were saying we are better when we are separate and safe. But it was a dark time, but as they say, every dark cloud has a silver lining on its edges. One of the things is the power of using social media, digital platforms, and we can meet always virtually. So if any one of them wanted to do it and they needed help, I think they could still contact Ludovica for a session of 2-3 hours with colleagues. And that's the comment I had first. The question maybe to the participants, I was going to ask if there were 2 participants. I didn't see the people that raised their hands. Okay, so the question I have for the 2 is, having participated in that particular training workshop, I'm sure there were other things that came to your mind and you thought, I wish also we could do this and do that. And what is it that you think ICOM can do further in terms of capacity building programs for the people in the Caribbean? So it would be something that would interest us as ICOM too.
Qu'est-ce que vous pensez que l'ICOM peut faire encore, en plus, qui peut améliorer, qui peut... D'autres, est-ce que vous avez pensé à d'autres choses, à d'autres formations? Already it was that training program that brought them here, because they heard about MAC.
If it can help, I remember talking about this with some of the participants while we were in Martinique, and they told me that they thought it would have been very important to have a similar training for archives as well. But preventive conservation, yes.
Parce que les normes françaises, les normes européennes ne sont pas adaptées aux conditions tropicales.
So preservation, but for this region, because the French European standards, they don't necessarily, it's not the same thing as they would as we can have here in this region. It's not possible. I mean, what they use as for conservation, it's not necessarily something that will work here. So that might be something that would be.
support. On sait qu'il y a des pays qui ont déjà travaillé là-dessus, le Brésil par exemple, peut-être la Guyane.
So we know that there are countries that have worked on this already, like Brazil, Guyana. That might be more interesting, rather than people from the global north, as I have learned.
From Shan.
Yes, from the global north. Come on. She's saying that there could be an opportunity to build bridges with Africa, having a program with Africa.
Yes, if Chania allows, in 2013 when we have the Triennial General Conference in Rio, one of the things we did was to do a South-South
Yes,
dialogue,
exactly.
which we had. So we had the Africans before the Triennial came 10 days before to Brazil, and they were in different museums to share the experiences of what they have in Africa and also see what the Brazilians are doing and they exchange. And it is because of the same thing he mentioned that we experience similar challenges and wanted to share what are the solutions that we do together. And so we had this South-South dialogue, and then eventually people went for the Triennial General Conference. So it's a thing that we should be encouraging, and I think Mark wants to do a lot more of these interactions within the Caribbean museum professionals. Of course, I had the interesting challenge that if you want to move from Trinidad and go to Barbados, first you have to go to Miami and report and then come back.
No, that's not Jamaica. Jamaica is a better one. Yeah.
If you want to go to the Bahamas from Barbados, you have to do that.
Yes.
I say one thing to
Oh, okay.
2 seconds. The key thing I think with the ongoing relationship there is that hybrid of the on-site and the online, because we're moving so much into online training. And I think one of the takeaways that we grappled with postponing this course was ensuring that online component happened. And I think you can see from the photographs just the wealth of knowledge that was taken away from that, doing the speeding.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, guys, this was just really an amazing panel, really opening up conversations for capacity building and why it's important that we do this work. So I want to invite, round of applause.